Hey guys, as you know, we are going through the story of Joseph. This is our next installment on the story of Joseph here in Genesis chapter 38. For a little bit, we're going to take a break actually from the story of Joseph. We're going to talk about Judah, who is one of Joseph's brothers, and Tamar, which we find in Genesis chapter 38. And here's some context for you. We know that Judah is the sixth son of Jacob, the line of Jacob, who was greatly used by God. Joseph is the 11th son of Jacob, and they are brothers. Now, Judah is the line where we get the tribe of Judah. If you know anything about the tribe of Judah is where we get the word Judea and eventually Jew. Now, we all know that Jesus was the king of the Jews, and so this line is where Jesus essentially started, was in this line of Judah. Now, in this chapter, we pick up with Judah and Tamar is the daughter-in-law of Judah. And essentially, Judah believes that Tamar betrayed him and did some things that she should not have done. And so Tamar tricks Judah into a romantic relationship with her. And this gets crazy if you really read the story of Judah and Tamar, all the way to the point where Tamar gets pregnant and she gives birth to two sons. Now, I want to pick up in this very important part of the story of Judah and Tamar. It is in Genesis chapter 28, verses 27 and on. And this is what it says. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. As she was giving birth, one of them put his hand out. So the midwife, she took a scarlet thread and tied it to his wrist and said, "This one came out first." But when he drew back his hand, his brother came out. And so she said, "This is how you've broken out." And his name is Perez. Then his brother, who had the scarlet thread on his wrist, came out. And his name was Zerah. You see, this story is a story of politics between Tamar positioning herself well in the family so that she could be right next to Judah. But also, mainly, it is a story about sin. You see, both Judah and Tamar messed up while they were following God. They did some things that they shouldn't have done. In the Bible, in the Hebrew, there's this word kata. And kata means sin. It directly translates to our version of sin. But the direct translation in the Hebrew is actually falling short of the mark. Now, what this means is that if the goal is, in essence, to follow God, to live a life worthy of Jesus, then kata, when we experience kata, we are falling short of that mark. It's the same way with sin. When we mess up, or where we get the word falling short of the glory of God, when we fall short of God in what He's called us, in the way He's called us to live, the life He's called us to live, that's kata. We've experienced a fall out of our relationship with Jesus. Now, what we know about Judah is, first of all, we know Judah's heart. Judah's heart was full of sin. From jealousy to lust to acting upon that lust to the lies, all of this sin allowed him to create a separation between him and his father, his family, but also his heavenly Father. And it actually led to a hard life for Judah. He experienced all of these things. You see, we also know that Judah was the guy, one of the brothers, who cast out Joseph, as we just previously read, away from his family. He's the one that sold him to slavery. So Judah not only was jealous and betrayed his brother, but then he gets caught up in this life of sin. And there's no coincidence that because he decided and made the decision to allow this sin to rule his life, it changed the course that he would live by. Similarly to us today, we know that God has called us to a higher place and a higher lifestyle other than sin. And that's exactly what God has called us into today. And even though through the sin that Judah was caught up with, God still used it for his good. Because what started out as sin, God turned into a blessing and a miracle. How did he do that? Even though Judah fell short, God still wanted to use him in all of his mess and all of his brokenness in order for people to see Jesus come to this earth. It was through that line that Jesus came down and he lived embodied on this planet for 33 years, only to die a sinner's death for us. And that is the story of Judah and Tamar.